Hi there, we're going to field strip and detail strip the 1911 pistol. I want to make sure it's not loaded, of course. Magazine's out. I'm going to keep our fingers straight and off the trigger. Gun pointed in a safe direction. Chamber's empty, gun is safe. Okay, we're going to push in the plunger, rotate the barrel bushing, carefully take it out so it doesn't fly away. Unlock safety, slide out. Okay, here we go. We need to take out this pin here that holds the mainspring assembly in, and we use a dull rounded off punch for that. Just get it started. Pops right out. This slides out next easily. Leave it in there because it holds in the other springs in there. Okay, at that point we can try to take the safety out, and to do that we'll want to rotate the hammer down, and you move this back and forth while pulling up on it, and it can help to push in on the other side. This is assuming you've got a standard 1911 and not some souped up race gun with safety levers on both sides and all that mumbo jumbo. So grip safety, just push the, take like a drill bit, the dull end of it, and you can push out the pin that holds the hammer in. Hammer strut, and the little bitty one holds the sear and disconnector in the gun. Remove that. The spring comes out. The spring has to be bent just right to function correctly. If you get one that's bent funny, it's hard to tell unless you've got one to compare it to or a good picture in a book. Get those pins out of the way. And here's your sear. Here's your disconnector. And let me show you how the put the sear pin in. You can set it in the side of the gun on the outside, and likewise with the hammer. Put that in the hammer hole, and you can see how the relationship between the sear and the hammer function. A lot of these guns have horrible triggers out of the box when you get them, or someone might have been monkeying with it. There's half cock. Right there is the notch where the sear and the hammer engage. I don't know how well you can see it, but the angle that the sear is cut at on the top is critical, as well as the width of it. A factory one typically has one flat surface cut across of it. One that's been tuned up by a gunsmith will have a similar angle and a secondary angle on the back, and you need a pretty good magnifying glass to see that, unless you've got really good young eyes. That's pretty much detail strip. If you put a small screwdriver in the magazine release and you press on it and rotate it, you can take that out, and the trigger will fall right out. There's really not much reason to do that unless you want to clean in there super good. Assembling it is the opposite. It can be a little tricky. Just takes a little practice. It's hard to do wrong. So sear point faces backwards. The flat part of the disconnector faces forward towards the trigger. That fits together like that, and you just insert that in that hole in there where it comes out the frame. See the top of the disconnector should function smoothly and freely. Okay, to line up the holes, you push it up and down like this, get them lined up, push back on the trigger to get them in the other configuration. You can take a drill bit or something pointy to get them lined up and drop the pins back in. Goes in easily. Same thing here. Sometimes when a trigger job is done or a hammer's out of spec, the shelf that the sear hits against is out of dimension. It needs to be real square and clean. And if you use an automotive feeler gauge, you can get whole sets of those that give you a lot of information about how your guns fit together. One that's cut for matchwork might be 18 thousandths of an inch high. This gun is pretty high. I don't know exactly. I don't have something to measure them with here. I've got another. Here it is. The other feeler gauge. I mean, you can measure them and see what the height really is. I mean, this is higher than 26. I don't have one much thicker than that. I might. But the trigger is excellent on this gun, and these hammer hooks on the hammer haven't been cut back, so beware people that just do that without thinking about it. The critical thing on that sear to hammer fit is having a good sear, good quality sear, and it has to be cut and angled perfectly to match up not only with the specifications but with your pistol, because there can be tiny differences in where these holes are drilled to fit the parts together. Okay, well, let's put our spring back in. And when you put the spring back in, this helps hold it in. You need to do this. There you go. And you can see that one of those springs that pushes up on the disconnector, this little guy, pops up and down when the spring tension is correct. Okay, this goes down. You can kind of line it up, but you might have to move it down again. The grip safety goes back in. The safety goes in, holds the grip safety in. Okay. Now to get this in, you have to push up on that again. And to get the safety to go all the way down, you're going to have to rotate the hammer back. And that'll let it fall down where it needs to. And then you can take some special tool and you have to push this plunger in. And that'll let you get that safety back down. There it is. Try not to scratch your gun up. Okay. And you have to pull the trigger and get that hammer down to get this spring housing back. And we'll put this retainer pin back in. Don't need a hammer. Sometimes it helps to take a block of wood and put underneath there so the thing doesn't move around a lot or go too far when you punch it back in. This one goes in pretty good. This is an old gun. This gun was made in around 1918, and it still shoots wonderfully. Put the gun back together. This always has to go up. Difficult one-handed. There you go. Hammer back so the slide goes on easily. Line these babies up. And locate our slide lock. Line it up with the takedown notch, not the other notch. Try not to scratch your gun up. Every 1911 I've ever seen is scratched here. And I never do that. I haven't figured that out. That's one of the mysteries of the 1911. Put the safety on so the slide doesn't move around. You can get that spring back in. These main springs Strengths. 18 pound is good for a military gun. You might find one with 16 pounds. 16 pounds is a little light. I think it can hammer your gun and wear it out. It makes it easier to operate. The lighter the spring, the harder the case will eject. So if you have a gun that doesn't have the ejection port cut and once in a while it'll shoot one towards your head, you definitely want the heavier spring because they'll come out at a lot slower velocity. Won't put your eye out. I don't think it'll put your eye out. But that's pretty much it. If you've ever had trigger work done or you're questioning the configuration of a gun, some of the tests you can do is pull the slide back, let it go, and keep the trigger held. That hammer should stay right where it's at. If it falls down, you've got a big problem. And you don't want the gun going off more than once when you pull the trigger. If that hammer falls when that trigger's held back, that gun will keep going. And it sounds fun, but it's not, because this gun kicks. And it might be pointed at your forehead when that last round goes off. Okay. When you let go of the trigger, you should hear the disconnector click. That's good. And another test you can do, which I don't recommend that you do often, is to not hold the trigger and let the slide loose and see if the trigger lets loose. If that happens, you've got an issue with your sear. It's not as serious. In the actual operation of the gun, you won't have that much velocity when you let go of the slide because it'll be grabbing a round out of the magazine and slow it down, and it's a lot less likely to occur. But if you've got a short sear, a hammer that's been worked on by an amateur, that's a possibility you need to watch out for. That's it, 1911. This is the Holy Grail of pistols. If you're a pistol guy, I mean, you can get plastic guns and lasers and everything, but this is it.